Welcome back, everybody. I see a lot of videos are on, so let me ask you, how did you enjoy sharing your experiences with others? A thumbs up or a thumbs down? Thumbs up, great. Oh, Thomas says a thumbs down. Oh, thumbs up, okay, I'm glad. Thank you so much, somewhere in the middle. Well, good that you all have a shared experience, because we actually want to just see if you get the grasp of Mentimeter as well today. So I'm going to share my screen with you, which will allow you to, again, try to work with Mentimeter. And let me share the next screen, because we'll be using it today as well to really get your feedback as well, because we're going to break up in such small groups or bigger groups, but still not being able to listen into everything everybody's saying. And we want to make sure that everybody catches some insights, at least from the others. So Menti is the way to go in that sense. So if you can try to use your mobile phone, you don't have to install any application. Just go to the web browser, menti.com. And you can enter the code 6589369. And then I would like to ask you to share actually the key challenge for scaling that your conversation partners highlighted in your breakout. So although I'm interested in your own personal experience, let's see what you are reminded of when thinking back of what the others were sharing.
Danielle, can you first go back to that number? You were too fast for me.
Luckily, it's also on the top of the screen here where you see menti.com and use the code 6589369.
I don't see anything.
You don't see it on the top of your screen?
Oh, yes, 6589369. Yes, and then how can I get, oh my God.
Not a problem. You just go to menti.com. There will be a screen pops up where it asks for the code and you can try to enter it, and hopefully it works. If you have a big struggle with it, you can also move towards the chat and enter some thoughts there, of course, but prefer to use the chat specifically for technical difficulties for those in need. Ooh, we're seeing a lot of things coming in. Let's see. What did other conversation partners discuss? Don't scale up too quickly. Packaging information, the willingness to pay. Politics, something that Melissa Leach, of course, addressed very well in her introduction as well. More like that in investment cost, government, research to practice. And you know how it works with the wordscape that we have here. The ones that's larger and has a bigger font means that's the one that's being mentioned the most. So it means communication and politics are two that are very much present here, apparently, among the groups and the conversation partners that were discussing their scaling experiences. I'll leave this one open for now, but I'll stop sharing my screen for the moment, because actually I'm very happy that we're getting these views from you about your experiences in relation to challenge for scaling. Because as Rob already announced, we're involved in one of the synthesis studies as a team of co-authors working on blind spots for scaling. And specifically, we've been addressing different dilemmas that actually came up out of conducting the synthesis of the 75 research projects of the Food and Business Research Program. And these dilemmas, although very different how they were executed or what kind of factors really were associated with the dilemmas, were quite common across different projects. And we saw this as a great opportunity, actually, for this conference to have a discussion with you about your experiences with certain dilemmas, with certain challenges, and perhaps blind spots affecting those challenges when trying to scale up your interventions or innovations or research practices for food and nutrition security. So that's basically what we want to discuss with you today. And hopefully it will inform as well the further work that we're doing for the synthesis article, which will be published later on 2021. So what are these dilemmas that we're talking about? I'm sure that you're rather curious about them at the moment. And luckily you don't have to wait much longer, because we have our co-authors ready to share with you a fable that's associated with each dilemma. So just with the white elephant, for those that were started with us, we want to sort of give you a little bit of a thought exercise or creative impetus from fables that are very familiar to us all, perhaps, and how they relate to the dilemmas that we're facing in scaling in our work. So I will move again to sharing my screen with you to move towards the first fable, which is shared by us through Rob Lubberink, one of the co-authors, of course, of the article. Rob, please take the floor.
Thank you, Daniela. The fable of the bell and the cat. So as you can see in the picture, a family of mice has been living in fear because of a cat. And one day they come together to discuss possible ideas to defeat the cat. After much discussion, a young mouse gets up and suggests an idea. He suggests that they put a bell around the cat's neck so that they can hear it when it approaches. And all the other mice agree, wow, that's a great idea. Apart from a wise old mouse. The old mouse agrees with the plan in theory. Then he suggests, who will put the bell on the cat? So this fable relates also to scaling. And in the following way, we see that there are often plenty of ideas and solutions and roles to be divided. But who, when, and how to take the first steps, also for others to follow suit. And especially realizing that there might be some risks associated in taking the role of the front runner. So the dilemma then is the following. To start scaling, stakeholders require certain conditions to be in place to reduce the risk associated to scaling. But should we wait for ideal conditions to be set up by the other, or should we make the first move?
Thank you, Rob. Who puts on the bell around the cat? Great ideas, but who takes the initiative and who wants to take the first step? Wonderful. So let's move on straight away to the second fable and a second dilemma, which is introduced by us by Ellen Lammers. Ellen, please go ahead.
Hello. This is the fable of the hare and the tortoise. A hare was making fun of the tortoise one day for being so slow. "Do you ever get anywhere?" he asked with a mocking laugh. "Yes," replied the tortoise. "I get there sooner than you think. I'll run you a race and prove it." The hare was much amused at the idea of running a race with the tortoise, but for the fun of it, he agreed. So the fox, who had consented to act as judge, marked the distance and started the runners off. The hare was soon far out of sight, and to make the tortoise feel very deeply how ridiculous it was for him to try a race with a hare, he lay down beside the course to take a nap until the tortoise should catch up. The tortoise, meanwhile, kept going slowly but steadily, and after a time passed the place where the hare was sleeping. But the hare slept on very peacefully, and when at last he did wake up, the tortoise was near the goal. The hare now ran his swiftest, but he could not overtake the tortoise in time. The moral of the story: the race is not always to the swift. Why we chose this well-known story is because with a bit of imagination, it very well illustrates a common dilemma in scaling, and one that we also encountered in our first review of the food and business projects. The ambition to scale as an innovation is often a response to a societal problem. In the case of many of the projects, this problem is the impact of climate change on smallholder agriculture. The urgent challenge of climate change requires solutions that can be fast implemented and at a large scale. However, we also see that if scaling efforts are too exclusively focused on quick and economically efficient solutions, there is a potential downside. This fast approach may stand in the way of searching for solutions that are really context specific, driven by the needs of and the demands of farmers, and developing such tailored solutions may take a longer time, but these maybe slow solutions are perhaps more likely and to be relevant as well as sustainable in the long term. Our dilemma, in other words, is should or shouldn't we accept short-term gains over more relevant and more durable scaling solutions that take a longer time to develop? We're curious to hear your thoughts and experiences in the next breakout session.
Thanks, Ellen. And indeed, try to hold your horses in replying or responding already to these dilemmas, because I see some responses already coming into the chat, but hold them just for now, because we will have breakouts to discuss them in more detail, guided amongst others also by Jana Corner. So maybe Jana, you can share the third dilemma to the group.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So let me share the fable of the two goats, and it's very short. Once upon a time, two goats tried to cross a bridge, and the bridge was really narrow, and neither goat was willing to make way for the other. So they came to a stalemate until finally the bridge gave in and both fell into the water. So being stubborn this time did not pay off. So here's the dilemma. To achieve impact at scale, we need cooperation between different kinds of partners and actors. And at the same time, all different partners and actors come with their own interests and ambitions. So how to deal with that? We might often think that we are right and our worldview is a valid one, and then our partners think the same. So what do we do? In real life, it often happens that the one with power then decides what is good and what shall be done. And that does not need to come from bad intentions. Sometimes people are just not aware about their power and influence that they can have and what effect that has on others. So maybe these power dynamics can be the blind spot, yeah? So the fable shows that actually it's not necessarily a question about right or wrong. It's more a question about finding solutions together. Thanks.
Thank you, Jana. Lovely way, and I especially like the fact that you say, so what should we do? Because that's exactly, I think, what we want to start discussing with you in relation to each of the three dilemmas that we put forward here. We will not take the floor any much longer, basically, and we want you to have a discussion amongst yourselves, because we have a very diverse group here today of over 40 participants from around the world with different experiences. So we're gonna, with your permission, divide you in a bit in 3 breakout groups, randomly selected. Hopefully each of the dilemma will be relevant to you, but we're sure that you'll find something to discuss about, knowing the experience and knowledge that you all have. Each breakout group will be moderated by Rob, Ellen, and Jana, and they will share some insights from the projects as well to get the discussion going. We'll have 25 minutes for each breakout group. We'll have some questions for you specifically, and then afterwards we'll come back to the plenary session where we have 10 minutes again to reflect a little bit through Mentimeter, and of course by a raise of hands to see who wants to share with the bigger group about what they learned, what they take away, and especially how you want to take these learnings further after this session has taken place. I hope everything is clear. If not, you can still put it down into the chat, of course, but otherwise I would very much like to invite Monica to start randomly selecting each other into breakout groups, and we'll be happy to see you in a bit in the breakout sessions. Enjoy.